call this story Go See for Yourself, and here's why. Many years ago, I was asked to help a team in St. Helens, Oregon, improve and reduce the changeover time in their painting operation. Now, I went out to the facility and I took a look and determined that to do that, we would need a Kaizen team and we would apply the use of SMED, single minute exchange of die. So we got the team, and on the first day, after training the team in how SMED works, we went to observe a changeover in progress. Standing in front of the booth, we watched the paint booth technician make adjustments, measurements, and modifications to change from one type of paint to another. Every so often, that technician would go behind the paint booth, but the team wasn't able to see what was going on. When the changeover was over, instead of going back to the meeting room, we asked the technician to tell us what he had been doing behind the booth. And basically, he was making changes, closing valves and opening valves on paint tanks, which we couldn't see. So we asked the technician, "Can you show us what you're doing? Let us come back there with you." He looked at us kind of strange and said, "I don't know if you're going to fit, but that's okay with me." So we followed him across the conveyor, behind the booth, squeezed our bodies between the booth and the wall of the facility, and looked in horror as he showed us what he had to do to open certain valves and close other valves. He actually had to climb up on a short wall, putting his legs on a natural gas pipeline to be able to twist his body and reach to pull the valves. Well, we knew that this was not ideal. We also knew that making major changes to those paint booths and valves would go far beyond the Kaizen event week that we were there for. However, we did have an electrical engineer on our team, and he was already working on a project to automate different control systems in the factory. So he wanted to, and we asked him to, see if he could get an estimate on automating the 3 valves in the back of the booth. So for the rest of the week, he did that work while the rest of the team worked on improving the procedures, the equipment, the tools, the visuals, and any other methods that would improve the changeover time and make it safer and more productive for people that did that work. By the end of the week, we had achieved our changeover goals, and we knew that we needed to sell the idea of automating the valves. So at the report out, we gave a tour to the leadership team of the plant, and we showed them all the things that we had done to reduce changeover time. They were very impressed. But then we said, but we need to show you one more thing that we think is critical for this plant's safety and productivity. So we gave them the same tour that we got. We took them behind the booth, and they squeezed their bodies behind the booth and looked in horror as we demonstrated what it took to close and open those valves on the paint tanks. The plant manager was there, and this plant had been built 16 years before, and it had been this way always, but I can tell you that I think very few people had ever squeezed their bodies behind the paint booth to see how paint valves were opened and closed. Immediately upon seeing this, the plant manager said, "We need to get this fixed. We need to get this automated. Can we get a project started on that?" At which point the electrical engineer said, "Well, here's the estimate. Here's what we need to do, and we can do it." At that moment, she approved the project, and within 3 months, the valves were automated and a 16-year problem was solved. I hope this story provided you with some inspiration to revisit your own processes. I have a lot more I'd like to share. Head over to pi-partners.com to learn how I can help. And check back from time to time for more Kaizen stories.